What is up, everybody? This is Blake, the Scholar of Magic, and today we are going to go over the deck that I've been testing out for the last couple days, and keeping in mind that this singular card we're kind of waiting for Final Fantasy, Tifa Lockhart. And the stream was fantastic today. I've never had that many people join up on a stream. I was like, holy crap, I got to do this more often. It kind of got me the kind of itch to kind of put some more content, some more connecting content, because the list that we did test on stream is a little different than where the list ended up, because I did further test it in a rank today. And keeping in mind with Tifa in the back burner, obviously we don't have the access to the card, but I'm just kind of keeping her, subbing in cards there in place of her until this occurs and this deck is ready to go. So I believe this card will be available on Arena in the next week or so. So that's fantastic. It's a Voltron deck. And I think without further ado, we can kind of just go to look at Tifa Lockhart, and kind of get into the stats, kind of what makes her tick. And obviously on the generally on a best of one side, right there in the middle of the alley, a 2-mana creature, right? So what do you get out of it? You get a legendary creature, a human monk, to trample. Okay, nice. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, double Tifa Lockhart's power until end of turn. So that's pretty exceptional. It kind of is reminiscent of like a territorial skycast, something that scales up like dramatically, you would so to speak. Maybe that's good flavor for her too. The flavor text is, I'm pretty good at taking care of myself, So, obviously in the game, she's, kind of a battler or a brawler, so to speak. And I would say that fits this card very well. And it is susceptible. Let's be honest, like just a 1/2 that could be gotten by a cut down spell pretty easily. There's no like protection built into this card. Like, for instance, let's just compare it like Tifa to Toadstool Admirer. Now, Toadstool Admirer is a 1/1 for 1 green, so one less than Tifa. You can play this on turn 1 and has built-in Ward 2. Whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2. So very evasive creature, very geared for Voltron, so to speak. Tifa is like the ultimate Voltron payoff. She just doesn't have any of that built-in protection. She's kind of like an egg just waiting to be cracked, so to speak, but she is also extremely explosive, and that's kind of the trade-off. A Toadstool Admirer could get you there, if you suit up a bunch of these auras, but that's just like another dimension to our deck, right? We can play the Toadstool Admirer, have this really sweet card that can, protect itself, and in certain circumstances we can ride this one to victory. Otherwise, we can also have this kind of bonus card here that can kind of get us there on certain circumstances as well. So what an interesting deck overall. This deck basically was relying on the helpful hunters there to kind of get some of that land glass, but I believe the Tifas are like the basically the substitution here. And I wanted to illustrate this. I love the helpful hunters, but this deck is extremely fast. The meta is extremely fast. These are great without a card such as Tifa, because we kind of have to get into some cards, right? We can't just like play Tifa and expect to win, like so. But I believe the helpful hunter is actually kind of I think Tifa, the card quality is just more exceptional, right? And I think that now we can get there sooner than later. In fact, I do see a couple turn 3 possibilities here with this particular deck, which is really obnoxious, I would have to say. And it might not even be close. I think a lot of people are going to be seeing this in the meta. They're going to be very surprised, because I believe like this creature is just going to be putting up like 16 power on turn 3. Like in the right shells, and I think this is the right shell for it. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of like turn 3 16 power Tifas. So what an interesting card. How do we really get it going? What is like the most hot things that we can do with this particular card? Well, we can imagine that if we have like a card like Optimistic Scavenger, right, that increases the power upon things as enchantments come in. Well, imagine we can go turn 1 Optimistic Scavenger, turn 2 Tifa, and if nothing dies, so nothing's dead yet, we're safe, we can go to our turn 3. And what you're going to want to start doing is, before you play the land, you're going to want to start beefing up the Tifa. You don't want to make that mistake of like playing the land and then Tifa simply going to 2 power off of doubling her power from 1. No, what you want to do is you want to start beefing it up with certain auras. Some of these low-cost auras are fantastic. You can imagine like an Audacity is crazy. Because if we have the Optimistic Scavenger and we have Audacity, all of a sudden that's 3 power we're putting on if it resolves, right? You're putting a counter onto Tifa, so she'll become a 2/3 from the proc of the Audacity entering. Then the Audacity will give Tifa 2 power, so then all of a sudden she'll be a 4/3. So that's just that for 1 mana. And in our certain circumstance, let's just imagine that we're just playing a Fabled Passage. So all of a sudden Tifa is going to double that land. Simply that land coming on now, we still have 1 mana open, is going to make Tifa an 8 power creature. Then we're going to crack the Fabled Passage, and now she's a 16 power creature. And we didn't even have to utilize that additional, mana as well. It's just kind of like just chilling. And we might have like a cheeky royal treatment just available, like in the back burner, like the opponent might try to interact with Tifa. We can drop a royal treatment, and that's going to be, for all respects, mostly lethal at that point, because you're going to have a 1 power creature and a 18 power creature swinging in all of a sudden. So, there's just a lot of nastiness going around with this card in particular. I fear the Momentum Breaker decks, Liliana of the Veil, Unholy Annex decks will just I think people are going to be very inclined to try Tifa, and the meta will have to adjust, to her. I think they will have to. There's not many creatures that if they live, and they're co-opted with just another creature, that they can really put up that much damage. Not even mono red can do that. So, we're very interested in this shell. We got a nice little balance there with the 18 creatures, 18 enchantments. I feel like you have to be very balanced when you're trying to do Voltron, because you might have those openings where you're just filled with creatures or you're just filled with enchantments. And actually, the creatures don't look so bad, just getting a handful of creatures. Especially, we're going to run the Bristly Bills, because Bristly Bill, just by playing lands, you simply put counters on things. So just having this Tifa here is kind of always a threat, right? Where, perhaps we're going into turn 3 without any enchantments, but then we're playing Bill, and then we're playing a fetch land. We're putting a counter on Tifa, and then we're fetching the land. She's 6 power now, and now land is entering once again, and now we're putting another counter, and now she's 14 power all of a sudden. So these are like a very interesting combo, like the Bristly Bill, the Tifas. Hydra dodges temporary lockdown. So that is an interesting fact. I think you have to have a couple of these. I think this is the right way. The Toadstool Admirer just gets it, guys. This card just absolutely slams. This thing has built-in war too. If you put a Sheltered by Ghosts to it, the only thing that you can really get gotten by is like those mass kind of card interaction spells like Temporary Lockdown, or there's a Wrath of God basically in the meta right now, which is pretty devastating for our deck. One of the riskier cards we're playing is the Ordeal, and I do feel like this is kind of like a decent card enough. I feel it's sufficiently strong where you don't want to have like 3 or 4. I think 2 would be enough, because it's probably the weakest enchantment we have, I'll be honest. But I haven't tested it with Tifa. I've just been testing it with like other stuff. Like the Ordeal like kind of just looks sad when I have like a hunted the basically the cat, and I'm actually getting the Ordeal through, and I'm proccing just Bristly Bill. It doesn't look as good, but I can imagine if I have a Tifa and I'm the Ordeal is going through. Basically, for this criteria, you'll need 3 1/1 counters on a creature. we kind of get there pretty fast. Your aura, like your scavengers, will put counters on. Bristly Bill will put counters on. Nothing else will kind of enable counters except the ordeal itself. When you do attack with it, it will put on a counter. So at the bare minimum, it does increase Tifa's power. And I think we're going to be okay with that. And I think we're going to be okay when we do get some counters on it through like the Scavenger or Bristly Bill. And then all of a sudden, we're having 2 lands enter the battlefield, and Tifa like is going to really get in. So we love that. Like, we like to like kind of go over, because in this meta, you might have to go over in certain circumstances, you know. You might have to trample over a really nasty Sheltered by Ghosts creature that has a lot of life gain built into it already. You might just have to go over for quite a bit of damage. 22 lands kind of seems appropriate. This is a land base I've run. It seems appropriate. These thickets are fine. Sometimes they'll come in tapped, but really we don't want the game to go on that much further. We're running 4 fetch lands and an escape tunnel. It's just been kind of sad to like go into an opener with 2 escape tunnels and 2 Fabled Passage, so I kind of minimize that to a degree. 22 lands I think was a fair like balance between too little of lands. I feel like, you know, 20 lands is kind of sad. I think 21 lands is kind of sad sometimes. You can get flooded with the 22 land deck, but like I said, we're not too bad about flooding, especially with the 4 Bristly Bills. We can always mana sink into that, you know, double the amount of counters. Tifa having like built-in trample is amazing. We can also add trample with the audacities. The Feather of Flight is good card advantage. We must have some sort of card advantage, right? So these are kind of built in our card advantage. Like if we lose a creature, the audacity will give us a card back. The Feather of Flight simply will give us a card. And I would say that's why the Toadstool Admirer is so important. This is like our turn 1 play. If you have it in your hand and you have a few auras, this is your turn 1 play, because you are very safe to start suiting it up, so to speak. You know, it has built-in Ward 2. We can put on a Feather of Flight, draw some cards, get into our bigger spells, get into our Ethereal Armors, and just end the game. What a fantastic deck this is. I'm so excited to take this for a spin. This is kind of sometimes what happens on your 22 lands. You know, you kind of can run against that. I mean, this is it, guys. Look at this. Look at this. I don't care. Whatever. How do we want to go about this one? I mean, I suppose it is an interesting one. Suppose you could just go right into Tifa. You kind of want to get your Scavenger down, though, and hopefully let it live. You don't want to be too slow in this meta, because what will happen is if, like, for instance, you just wait on this, your opponent can set up a little bit. They might even, you know, see the Scavenger and, like, just shoot off the removal at it, like, immediately, which wouldn't be the worst result. So let's go into a draw here. Now we can kind of get busy here. That was a fantastic draw. So now we have like kind of the combo set up. So what happens next? That's the question. Okay, so for instance, what if the Scavenger died? Okay, well then it dies. Let's just imagine that everything is fine and we have both of these resolved, and then we can go to our draw step. And remember, we want to do our things first, right? So, and just depending on the situation, we might first start with like a Sheltered by Ghosts, get Tifa some ward. That might be a nice position. Like I said though, like this is a 4/3 Tifa if you put an Audacity on it, and then if you crack this Fabled Passage, she's going to be a 16 power creature on turn 3, which is nothing to scoff at either. And we have a wide variety of fetch lands here. So, I mean, it's probably like this. You're probably going to try to shoot off your Sheltered, mostly in certain circumstances, just to kind of get Tifa, kind of cozy in there. We can also make her higher power because the aura steps in, so she would be a 3/4, so she dodges a lot of shit now, like including cut downs. We're very mana efficient on that, and then we can still crack this, and she's still getting in for 12 lifelink damage, so she's a 3/4 here. The escape tunnel comes in, now she is a 6/4 crack the escape tunnel 12-4. Wow. Or 12-3, I suppose. Yeah, it should be a 12-3. With War 2. That's a big swing. And then we go to our draw here. It's just kind of a nothing burger. But look at this. We have all of our juice here. You know, we would not play the land first. We'd get our stuff down, of course, like we would. And then we'd ride that all the way into the sunset with this here, Fable Passage. And that is how you do it, guys. So that's Tifa Boom. I guess we just look at another one that went very well. You can have these kind of openers when there's no creatures. That's the saddest part about this deck, is when you don't have anything to enchant, because you just have to mulligan these. And I don't like seeing just the regular planes like that either. Let's see how our lands are sufficiently. It looks like we're pretty skewed here. I wouldn't mind adding like a Verge land. Verge lands, I believe, tap for green. So that's not that bad. I think it's this Bleach Bone Verge. No, it's the Hushwood one, I think. Yeah, that taps for green. That's nice. Still have a sufficient amount of basics. Yeah, I wouldn't want to put out a deck where it's not really... You want to have a good mana base, right? Kind of another interesting one here. Okay, we just kind of drop in our Optimistic Scavenger. I mean, it's really going off with our counters here. Seems to make sense like this, right? Ooh, Hydra, huh? I'd probably try to enchant our Scavenger here, just to kind of keep the sauce off of Bill and draw. And then I would probably crack this and probably start evenly getting these sufficient, like make this a 3/3, make this a little bit stronger. You know, kind of spread out the wealth a little bit. Looks like we have a Hydra available too, which is really, you know, that's a very nice draw too. And yeah, it looks like we can just try to kind of finish this off. With the Hydra, you want to put the counters on the Hydra, and the arena will stack it for you. Basically, you want to just make sure you put the landfall triggers on here, and then you crack it. And that way it doubles the counter, so it goes from 2 to 4. So that would be nice. And then you put on another counter, 5 to 10, and it just kind of goes from there. And then you're just like kind of banking on your lands, you know, just to kind of finish the game out there. You got a little bit of card advantage here. So yeah, I think this one did pretty well. I can kind of illustrate it for you today too. I think that's always kind of a fun thing to try. Let's see if I have my arena client up. And here's the deck. We can try to make it just like it was. Add in that Verge land, which we just changed. And there's the Hushwood Verge, and then this is Tifa Boom. It's like a Voltron, right? Very, like dependent on protection. You know, kind of having cards that are evasive. And of course, just imagine that the helpful hunters are the Tifas in this particular deck, and you'll see how much more explosive it can be. So this could definitely be like an arena screw, you know. This just yeah, I see what this is. This is just a massive screw. Like I said, the Order of Nightly is probably one of our weaker cards. But we go first, so that's not too bad. And this is basically our best one drop, so we'll take more of those auras that you just had like 5 in my hand with. Sure. Can't block its when it comes in. It does the little buff there to itself. And then we go from all of that to just lands. Oh my god, they just killed my Hydra. What a disaster. Oh, I didn't read that card. What? They don't kill my Hydra? That's psycho. What? Opponent, why would you do that? You let my Hydra live? You're crazy. Opponent, you are a complete psycho, homie. I gotta draw, right? Kind of a clock here. How much damage are they doing to me? Certainly not that much, right? Shelter by Ghost is a card. It is a card. So if they have that, they'll just hit my my Here Toadstool and swing in for lethals. Tell me. Okay, I can't block that now. How much damage is this? Is it 14 damage? My god, honey. Whoa! Oh my god! Oh my god! What happened? What just happened? Ah, scuffed game. We'll get it back. We're gonna run that back. That was bull crap. That was complete riggedness. Arena doesn't really like this deck, it seems. They don't like what it's all about. From all the decks I build, I'd probably complain the most about building this one. Probably built this one has been most annoying. It's doing it again. That's crazy. Wow. No, let's do better. I said, let's just go all the way with the Admirer. Let's go all the way. No sacrifice. Opponent, you have nothing. Blue. That's a guy. That's a thing. I mean, I guess it's the way. Any auras? Any auras? Oh my god. This is so much damage. Double ward, by the way. They might just concede. They have to have like a defensive Monstrous Rage. I've seen those before. But I have first strike, so... Just to concede for the video, Ceres. Just concede. Thinking about conceding. That's good. Just love to see it, guys. You'll love to see it. Hey man, molded 5, we'll take it. We'll take it. Yeah, I see the Toadstool is very good. So yeah, that's the deck. It's fantastic, right? Just some Tifas here and you got it. This is it. So guys, I appreciate you joining me for today. I plan on bringing you more morning lives. That was fantastic. And I'll see you at MagicCon too soon. Yeah, I think it's at the June 20th or something. Going on Premium Friday. So I'm going to set up some goodie bags. If you guys want to, I'll be probably reaching out to people anyways, you know. And I think I'm going to have like some cards I'm going to be giving away. It'll be fun. I have like a lot of like Maria, like full art foils and like Doors of Durn Surges. And I'm going to put like a little cool card in between. Put my like information and YouTube information on there and like pass them out to people, and they'll get a chance for like a really cool card like in between those two. Those are two cool cards already. But I'll probably get like 30 of these set up and just kind of pass them out during the MagicCon convention. It'll be fantastic. So that's about it, guys. I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye. Like and subscribe.